Artificial intelligence has made its way into nearly every field in healthcare. It seemed to be helpful across the board, from aiding in more precise surgeries to fostering better patient-physician relationships. And though many of these advancements have been welcomed with open arms, one area that still seems to have some pushback utilizing AI is therapy. There's a lot of public worry about getting mental health treatment from a computer. But despite these concerns, researchers have been working on the best way to integrate the technology into this field. Dr. Michael Heinz is a research psychiatrist at Dartmouth Geisel School of Medicine. He's part of a team dedicated to developing AI therapy tools to help treat mental health disorders. They've been working on a chatbot called Therabot for the last 6 years, trying to make the most effective product for various mental illnesses.
We have over 100 people on this team over the 6 years we've been developing it. So we have a lot of different people who have a lot of different ideas and input. We're currently running trials where we're actually working with what are called sort of experts by experience. So people who are dealing with the conditions that we're interested in treating. And so we're taking input from both kind of experts on our team and from real people with the conditions to try to come up with what content areas are going to be the most helpful, most fruitful.
There are many different types of therapy and approaches to choose from. Heinz says that they've mostly trained Therabot on cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as additional techniques that focus on mindfulness, acceptance, and compassion.
So it's really using the treatments that are the most evidence-based that we have in therapy. So it's using also acceptance and commitment therapy is something else we've worked a lot with in developing Therabot. Dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT, is another one that we've tried to train Therabot on. That one is one that's really skills-based work in DBT that can help folks with, like, in crisis situations, can help them with distress tolerance, can help them with sort of it's very practical. It can help them with sort of interpersonal challenges and things like that.
So far, the team has trained it to work with conditions like depression, anxiety, and personality disorders.
And so we're kind of taking those core concepts that we think are really important, and we've had experts on our team in mental health really review these materials, or sort of review the types of therapy we're training Therabot with, and figure out kind of what are the best evidence-based practices we can use. So we're using really those kind of core CBT, DBT, ACT, and we're using core principles from those across different disorders.
They conducted the first ever clinical trial of a generative AI therapy chatbot earlier this year, publishing the results in the New England Journal of Medicine AI. The research involved more than 200 adults who either had anxiety, depression, or were at a clinically high risk for eating disorders. Participants were randomly placed into two groups, one that would interact with Therabot and the other that would serve as a control group with no therapy exposure.
What we saw was clinically and statistically significant reductions at 4 weeks in the treatment Therabot group compared to the control group. And we saw that those just got bigger. Those differences actually just got bigger. This was really exciting when we got to the follow-up period at 8 weeks. So that was evidence that these benefits that folks found were actually sustained past the 4 weeks up to 8 weeks.
Heinz says most of the participants interacted with Therabot on a daily basis through text messages. The average use was more than 6 hours over the course of the trial. And though the goal is for this technology to be used independently, the team is still monitoring every interaction while it's in the testing phase.
We're only using Therabot still in clinical trial settings. So we still have a human in the loop who's monitoring the interactions. What I will say, though, is Therabot does really well. This isn't something where we're jumping in at any regular frequency. Therabot does really well on its own and works pretty autonomously. But given that we're still testing it, it's still in clinical research, we do have human experts in the loop.
Overall, Therabot users experienced a significant reduction in symptoms over the 8-week trial. And though this is compared to the control group that wasn't receiving any therapy, Heinz says that it's a major win, especially when considering that in the real world, many people don't have access to mental health resources.
The magnitude of how much improvement folks had was comparable to many established psychiatric treatments, including in-person therapy that we saw, because it's fairly standard. Many different treatments, when they're first being tested, will be compared to a wait list control or something, kind of an inactive control. just to get a sense of, is this thing that I'm hoping to deliver to patients at least better than sort of the normal? I guess it really reflects reality. It's when you don't have treatment, most people don't have treatment and their symptoms go untreated. And is this thing that we're hoping to test at least better than that? And so we can compare those effect sizes to other treatments that are now standard treatments in the field. And those effect sizes are right on par, if not better, than what we see from both psychotherapy and medication treatments. So things like SSRIs actually have effect sizes that are on average not as good as what we saw in the Therabat trial.
Not only did they have a reduction in symptoms, but the team noticed that the participants experienced secondary effects that are important in therapy, like the patient-therapist relationship. They measured these non-specific outcomes using what's called a working alliance inventory, which is often used in conventional therapy settings.
And so we gave that same inventory to our patients, to our clinical research subjects in the study, and folks rated it on par with the way that people have rated alliance with real therapists in an outpatient setting. So we actually saw people really feel that they built an alliance with Therabat. And that alliance is kind of a term for something that's often measured in research, in psychotherapy research, and it looks at factors like shared goals in therapy, feeling a bond with a therapist. And we know that that alliance is something also really important in therapy that predicts outcomes. So people who have a good alliance with their therapist, it might not be surprising, tend to have better outcomes. And so we saw that in the trial as well.
Despite these positive findings, there is still a fear within society of replacing human interactions with AI. What are the repercussions? Will it promote more isolation and reduce human connection? Heinz says this worry has been top of mind for him while developing and training Therabat.
I have so many thoughts about this. And I think one goal we have with Therabat is sort of meeting people where they're at. Our goal is never to reduce human connection that folks have, but I think there are a lot of people out there who are not, either don't have access to a therapist, are afraid to go see a therapist, people who may never have access, some people on wait lists, some people who may never have access, depending on where they live or what resources they have. And so I think of Therabat as kind of a way to meet a lot of people where they're at.
It also offers patients a unique space that may help them feel more comfortable than when speaking with a human. In fact, various surveys have estimated that between 70 and 90% of patients lie to their therapist.
A number of people say that they prefer talking about their kind of most personal stories with generative AI because there's not the sort of perceived judgment and stigma that can come when you're talking to a person.
Still, the rise of chatbot companions has created a worry that we will soon have generations dependent on and addicted to AI relationships. Thankfully, Heinz says that those artificial connections are the opposite of Therabat's purpose.
We start to have a breakdown of human-human interaction. I think our goal with Therabat is, our guiding star with it is mental health. And mental health means getting back out, for most people, means getting out into the world and engaging with other human beings. And so that's written into the very training data that we're using to train Therabat, is sort of not to engage people indefinitely in their homes in ongoing conversation forever, but it's to meet people where they're at and help them get back into their lives or help them find fulfillment that they're looking for in their lives.
With the success of their first trial, Heinz believes that Therabat will be available to the public sooner rather than later. Though they're still testing its safety and efficacy, he's optimistic that it will be used in the real world within a couple of years.
We're moving in directions toward looking at like FDA approval, which I think would open a lot of new doors for Therabat, and actually being able to once you have FDA approval, you can actually make valid claims about treatment. So saying this is actually indicated to treat certain disorders. So I see that. I know both Nick and I see that. Nick is the PI in the AIM High Lab at Dartmouth who's worked on Therabat. We've worked together for the last 6 years, Nick Jacobson. But I know that's a hope of ours, is to really make this available to everybody and have it be evidence-based and have it be something that can really meet people where they're at and be used for and make substantiated treatment claims that it can help with disorders like depression and anxiety and can actually treat those disorders.
The team will also be expanding Therabat to help other populations, like people with substance use disorders, where 24-hour access to help can make a huge impact. You can find more information about Dr. Michael Heinz and all of our guests on our website, ingoodhealthpodcast.org. For more behind the scenes, follow In Good Health Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and X. Our writer-producer is Kristen Farah. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. I'm Elizabeth Westfield.